All right, everyone, thank you for joining the South Fulton Coalition. We are pleased to join tonight Dr. Howard. He is running for a state senate for District 35. This is a special election with an election date of November 18th. So for residents of South Fulton and neighboring cities, we have our municipal elections on November 4th. And then we have another election on November 18th, which he is here tonight to speak about. Our moderator for tonight is none other than South Fulton's very own, Mr. Sam Bowen. So at this time, before we turn it over to Mr. Bowen, I just wanted to remind everybody that we hope to have a respectful conversation tonight, and we want it to be policy focused. So we will be enforcing that. So at this time, I would like to turn it over to Sam Bowen. You have the floor.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone. It's so good to see so many of my fellow residents filing into the room. As some of you all know me personally, I've seen you at meetings or at town halls. So I'm looking forward to a really good conversation tonight with Dr. Howard, Dr. Jaha Howard, actually, but I will continue referring to him as Dr. Howard because I know how hard it is to get those titles.
Oh, no, either way is fine. I appreciate it, Sam.
No problem at all, sir. Just want to give you all a quick background on Dr. Howard, just so you know that he is very impressive. He's got a BS and a DDS which is a doctor of dentistry from Howard University. So that must have been fun, Dr. Howard.
Oh, yeah.
Graduating from Howard University. And he also has a Master of Science in Oral Sciences, which is another extraordinary feat there from the University of Illinois. And that was in 2009, right, Dr. Howard?
That's right.
Okay. And Dr. Howard is married with 3 kids. I've seen the picture of the kids. He'll give any one of us a run for the money. They're beautiful kids. So congratulations on that, Dr. Howard.
Now I got to thank Vanessa for that. So.
But I've also been quite impressed by all the different organizations Dr. Howard has been a part of. He's really been out in the community. I saw that he was a member or a founder of Wave of Excellence, was one of them. And I'm sure he'll tell us about that as we speak tonight. He's also part of Vining's Rotary, the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry, Alpha Phi Alpha. I think my neighbor, who is also Alpha, would be super excited to hear from you. And he's also a member of or participated in Lead Atlanta at some point in time. So, Dr. Howard, thank you for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the very kind and warm introduction. This is this big Zoom meeting here. It feels like our Wednesday night Bible studies right now. So I'm feeling very much at home. And so we appreciate everybody joining so we can kind of learn about not just the candidacy, but I want to learn more about what you're seeing in South Fulton and see what we can do on the state level to provide more support.
Excellent, excellent. So the plan for tonight is for me to ask you a few questions, but I really would like the residents to really be involved tonight. So we'll go back and forth between me asking some questions and getting some questions from the residents. We have a hard stop at 8 o'clock. So residents, if you have your questions, get them all formulated and together. And as soon as we start opening them up, you know the routine. For those of you all who've been here before, just raise your hand at the bottom in the indicator for reactions, and you should be able to, and I'll see you in the queue and pull you up for questions and answers. So I'm gonna get started with a softball, Dr. Howard. I know many of you I live in South Fulton, which District 2. So those in the city of South Fulton knows what that means, what district that is. So I got Dr. Howard's mailer. And I gotta say, I've never met a candidate that has been more suited for their district than Dr. Howard. and when you look at the map and the things that he indicated on here, which I'm gonna have you explain, Dr. Howard, what are all the things that are on this mailer that make you so well suited for this district, starting with your childhood all the way to your professional career now?
Yeah, so I hope everybody on here who is in this District 35 got a mailer. But yeah, on that mailer, I wanted to indicate my roots in this district. We know that districts are gerrymandered significantly at the state level. But when I'm looking at this particular map, it includes areas that are so near and dear to my heart and very personal to my heart. We'll start off with South Fulton. This is where I do ministry. This is where I worship, right on Butner Road, Renaissance Church of Christ. This is where I teach a young adult Bible study for the last several years. I mean, this is a part of who I am. And then just kind of going up 285, you're gonna bump into Mays High School, like right there on the edge of the district. I'm class of '99, so I'm enjoying being mid 40s. I got to continue practicing saying that. Uh, Class of '99, Mays High School Raider, proud Mays High School Raider. Southwest Middle School, now it's called Young Middle School, and West Manor Elementary School. So Southwest Atlanta is very much so home, and this district has a big chunk of Southwest Atlanta. And interestingly, back in the 90s when I got my driver's license, if we weren't at Greenbrier Mall, we would drive up to 285 and go to Cumberland Mall so we can go and act like we're shopping even though we didn't have any
Yep.
money. And then maybe take some pictures when people used to make those pictures and cut out wallets for their friends. Uh, that's literally where it's close to where my dental practice is as a pediatric dentist in Vinings, and as a resident in Smyrna, right? And so the story of living in Smyrna is kind of interesting because I'm a city boy. I'm a Southwest Atlanta boy. My wife is a suburban girl from right outside of Birmingham, so in
Yeah.
Homewood. And I know there's a lot of folks who have deep Birmingham connections. Sixth Avenue Baptist Church, the whole nine. And so when we got married, this was our compromise area. So we started our family right out at West Village, right on Atlanta Road and 285, because it was
Yeah.
right there on the edge. I can throw a rock in the city of Atlanta, and we were right on the edge of Cobb County. And then from there, things continued. So fast forward all these years, and now we have a Senate district that literally just is a physical representation of just my life. And
Right.
I'm excited to be able to represent it with a sense of passion and urgency and optimism that you probably don't get every day.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. That does speak to your deep roots, and I think that's something that a lot of callers in this on here can appreciate because, again, one of the things that I've learned living in South Fulton these years is that we have a lot of deep roots, we have a lot of unique issues and opportunities that are special to South Fulton. That I think that we appreciate having someone that's from here, from the area that knows the community really well, being under the Gold Dome. I see one of our other senators on the call, so yeah, they know how hard it is to really be in touch with the constituents because you're representing a broad group, a large group. So it's all about having that relationship, and I think you've
That's right.
demonstrated that really well.
Thank you.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you, speaking of the way you approach things, how would you describe your leadership style? Is it more of a collaborator, consensus builder, or principal advocate?
Yeah, I think it's important for everyone to know that I make it very clear that my personal mission statement, it was really to love God and love people for real,
Mhm.
and challenge myself to live that out. And these are my personal mission statement. So having my steps kind of ordered by God,
Mhm.
but also making sure that I'm not so in love with God and then forget to be loving to people, right? And vice versa. Be so loving to people that we
Right.
kind of miss that divine wisdom from the Lord. So that's how I approach situations.
Mhm.
The other thing is be honest about my personality. I'm a problem solver. I don't mind conflict because I believe that that conflict can bring about wonderful change. So not conflict for conflict's sake, but conflict in the sense of let's have an iron sharpens iron mentality. Even if we do ruffle our feathers back and forth, we can get better at the end of this. And if we go in with the game plan to be better, not just as an individual, but as a community and as a
Right.
county and as a state, I think we can do amazing things. So that's how I approach these things. I also don't like to add my voice where it's not needed. I love being in rooms where there's just amazing people taking care of business. I think I saw Representative Sheila Jones jump in. Sheila Jones has been a state rep that's represented my area and done a wonderful job. So it wasn't something where I thought, ooh, I need to go ahead and primary Sheila Jones. No, she has a unique connection with her community
Right.
in a way that she goes about business. And so I don't want to step anywhere where there's great work already being done. But when I see a void, and I know that God is giving me a unique set of skills, I'm really eager to be a part of a purposeful mission. And right now, it's the state Senate seat.
So you mentioned when you see a void, in your mind, what is that void that you think is most pressing that pushed you to run for this seat?
Yeah. I think as Democrats, as well, as you know, in the state Senate, we're in the minority.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, people interpret being in the minority as being powerless just because you don't have the power of the votes. I wholeheartedly believe that we have a lot of power because we are connected with incredible people. And when we can kind of coalesce all that energy and all that common ground and really package it and have great communicators, we can really shift the energy in the room and in the energy in the whole state based on how we move forward together. And I see that we have an amazing state senators. I see Senator Kemp is on. We have great folks who are new in the state senate, and we have folks who have been at it a long time. And I can see that I can complement their skills. I'm a man who's a business owner. I'm an employer. I know what it's like to have to make payroll and how hard it is to get off the ground. So when there's a bill or a discussion about starting a business, too often Democrats are talking about rescue, but we're not talking about advancing. So it's good to have some state senators who know what it's like to be a business owner and to get a business off the ground. When we're talking about healthcare, this is what I do every day. When we talk about the needs of children, the Senate caucus can call on me and say, hey, we might need you to be a spokesperson for this particular thing. So I bring something unique. When we talk about mental health, I know what it's like to have the hardship of losing a s- I lost my brother to suicide, a brilliant, brilliant man. And when you want someone to speak with integrity and honesty and passion and boldness about healthcare, you don't do it from bullet points. You have to talk from a very real place, and I know I bring that to the table. Those are just some examples. I can go on about, we know that Democrats are up against a significant kind of a nationalist mentality that's coming
Hmm.
from that MAGA right, where there's a lot of people who believe that Jesus did not come from Nazareth, but perhaps Nebraska. And
Hmm.
so when they are using this kind of distorted view of Christianity to push through legislation, who are the Democrats that read their Bible, study their Bible, and can have those conversations on the side with some of these other lawmakers? I'm exactly what the Democratic caucus needs to add to an already very talented team. And what Democrats have done in the past, we've torn ourselves apart because we all
Hmm.
didn't pass this particular litmus test, but we now know we're up against some mess on the other side,
Right.
and we have to make sure that we're working together and using all of our skills under this big tent to get things done.
Yep. No, great point. And I know you mentioned the headwinds we're up against right now. One of the things I wanted to ask you about to kind of dig deeper into that is, you know, I've researching you, preparing for this for tonight. I saw that you ran for Senate before. I saw you also ran for county commission. In fact, my wife and I would go walking in the area at different times, and I saw your sign, and I saw the your opponent, who eventually won. And I know you sat on the school board for several years. And one of the interviews I saw that you did, you mentioned back in 2022 that you sit on a school board that has Democrats and Republicans on it. And I thought that was fitting because I wanted to get your perspective on what you learned from that experience that you think really prepares you from day one to go under the dome and not only work with the Democrats, but work with the Republicans, which has seemed to have taken a stance of all or nothing.
Hmm.
And we're not going to do nothing for, especially the people of South Fulton, which, we're facing potential loss of SNAP benefits for some of our family members that are on this call that will lose it come November 1st. So like how would you try to go about solving that problem? And if you were successful and you're in the session next year to try and maybe restore our benefits or help the community out.
Absolutely. Uh, I think just talking on a very human level and realizing that most people who are in elected position, a lot of them are good folks individually, but people get very different when it comes to collectively. All of the values and the principles that they tend to stand on individually, when they get into a room and that group think takes over and that team approach and the other side is the devil mentality takes over, folks really kind of lose it. So I learned how deep that rabbit hole goes. For people
Mhm.
can personally be very kind and all of that, but at the same time, when it comes to policy, they are perfectly okay not pulling a lever that can help kids be more literate. Perfectly okay not feeding kids. Perfectly okay not talking about difficult issues if it's going to uh, upset the institution's reputation.
Got you.
So that real experience, because some people get in there and they're so happy about the position, they're so happy about the name and the title and what
Yeah.
they, you know what, and or they're so positionally motivated. It's all about the next thing that they're going to run for. So everything is a calculated move. I've learned that, you know what, I'm here, because
Mhm.
God wants me to be here and he's my ultimate authority. And so if I'm in a room and I know that if I push with urgency and that's going to help a building for our kids get built this year instead of 4 years from now, I'm going to do that. And that's actually what happened in the Smyrna area. We had overcrowded middle schools. We had two middle schools in our area,
Mhm.
400 kids over capacity for
Wow.
both schools. And the SPLOST dollars said, okay, we're going to do a new middle school. I looked at the tea leaves. I looked at the history. I know what happened to SPLOST projects in my neighborhood. They tended to be the ones at the very back end because you legally
Right.
can do it within a certain amount of time and all of that. No, we got the community involved and we made sure that if you're going to delay anything, it's going to be out front in the open. And if doing the right thing behind the scenes won't happen, then you're going to have to do it in front of everybody. And oftentimes people move their feet because of shame. And in the state legislature, sometimes that's what it's going to take.
Got
We're
you.
really not going to give, really not going to provide for our families. Okay, you're really not going to do that. Oh, you're going to do this and you're switching the bill at the last minute. Oh, it's easy to do it if nobody's watching, or you think nobody's watching, or everyone's too distracted. It's not as easy to do it if you have a well organized, well communicated minority that can put everything, not just on blast for blast's sake, but for transparency purposes.
Got you.
And we are ushering in this kind of new Democratic Party that's not just here to say that the other side is bad. We're here to offer solutions and vision to say, hey, we have a better way forward. And it's not just a anti-Trump. That's it. No, we have to be better than that. We have to be more than what somebody else is not. And we're going to do that together.
Thank you for that answer. We have a question from Ty.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. I was super excited to get your text message where you sent out the map of where you grew up and where you live.
Oh, great.
We have a very similar background. My family grew up in the same areas you, and I know who you are. I just don't know why I know who you are, but I know who you are. But my question is, one of the things that excites me about you running is that the stereogenics issue. Um, that's one thing that Smyrna and South Fulton have in common. We
Yeah.
both have these plants that are
Just
basically
polluting.
killing
Yeah.
us, and no one is
Carcinogens. Yes.
helping. No one's
Yeah.
helping us.
Oof.
And so I'm just very curious. There are some other hot spots in South Fulton that are environmentally dangerous,
Yes.
and the EPD is not really helping us. The judges are not helping us. I don't really know where else to go. I've done all that I can to try to like, as a citizen, raise issues and try to ask folks to help. So can you share like what your response would be in terms of helping us to kind of like mitigate some of these things?
I'm really, well, first of all, Ty, I look forward to meeting you. I'm sure anytime you're in the Atlanta area and you got similar age folks, I mean, it's one or half a degree of separation. So I do look forward to connecting with you more. Uh, I'm glad you brought up stereogenics. and there's a broader conversation about data centers, basically our natural resources, our water, our air, oftentimes do not follow these lines that politicians made for themselves in the state capitol. Or county lines or any of that. So I'm glad that we're going to talk about that really briefly.
Dr. Howard,
Yes.
before you answer that question, can you briefly describe what Sterigenics is for the
Oh,
people that
yes.
might
Thank
not know what
you.
it is?
There's a lot of assumption there. Yes, Sterigenics is basically a company that sterilizes medical equipment using ethylene oxide. And it was determined that some years ago that the amount of ethylene oxide in the air was concerning. This is a carcinogen, and they had similar issues in a plant in Illinois as they do here in Georgia. And this is in an area that has historically been industrial. I mean, we know how we have these industrial areas historically in the metro Atlanta, and as population has boomed, people are now living in areas that used to be industrial areas. So this is kind of the conflict that we're under. And so you had the situation where the Sterigenics kind of shut down for a little while, and that they tested the air, and then they said, okay, everything's okay. It's a little bit better now. But then there's question marks on, did they test the air when the plant was going, or did they test the air when the plant was on break? All of that. And then there's issues about economic development around the area. I mean, the property values and the businesses and communities within a half a mile where on that Marietta Boulevard, I mean, it's booming right now on the Atlanta side and on the Cobb side. A lot of people don't want it to be true because it is an economic eyesore to have to talk about it. And so what I want to share with you is approach. I believe that we have to tell hard truths and do the hard work. And most people like to kick the can down the road for another administration, for another year, another term, another day. And this is kind of what I was alluding to with most people are, not most, a lot of people are in position, looking forward to the next thing they're going to run for. And because I don't have to operate that way, I have that freedom to just tell the truth, but tell the truth in a way that gets some solutions done. So to be more specific, as a state senator, we're going to work really hard to make sure that we are accurately testing the air during the time where the plant is during its normal function, and making sure that the results are public, and make sure that we have complete transparency. That's going to be the key. And that way we have data that we can trust. And right now we know trust in most of our institutions are so low. And then we can try to, legally it's hard to force a business to shut down and move, but if we can prove that it's a carcinogen that's causing issues, we can stop that process. And then we can invite them to move very, very far away from where there are residents within a certain amount of space and time. That's not going to be easy. There's a reason why it's been kind of sidestepped. There's some good people. Even my former opponent, Eric Allen, was doing good work on trying to lead that charge. So it's not over. If I may, I would love to dovetail that into a conversation about data centers that use an incredible amount of natural resources. We're talking about the amount of energy that most data centers would use is enough to power a small city. And they're in they're in a square block, taking up the amount of energy of a mid-level city. And what has happened around the country is that these big dollar companies are paying off politicians to try to pass legislation so that way the cost gets dispersed with tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of residents. On our power grid, oftentimes you can have an effect in your power bill 50, 60 miles away from where the data center is located. And you're paying an increase because of a data center that's somewhere 30 miles south of you. This has happened in Virginia. I mean, there's a resident in Baltimore who saw a big spike in their energy bill because of something that was happening in Virginia. And y'all, this is the state senators job is to keep an eye on that macroeconomics and those big shifts and big changes that are happening statewide and around the country. So that way you can know this on a county level, on a city level, on a community level. And that's why I know that I'm best positioned to have these conversations so we can organize and get things done. We don't have time for political stuff in the background and people playing these games. We have urgent work to do because I guarantee you there will be some bills coming from the other side of the aisle that is going to try to, one or two things we've seen, Texas and Ohio, try to get you to change your thermostat automatically so that way you use less energy so that it can divert more energy to these data centers and try to make sure that we're spreading the cost out. And that's just the energy. When it comes to water, the amount of water and we have some places that are like taking the good water and bringing it to the data centers and letting residents have the not so good water. These are things that are happening right underneath all of our noses, and they know that the level of sophistication may be higher than what a lot of folks are kind of paying attention to, or they're so happy that South Fulton's going to be arguing about stuff that's going on in South Fulton, which need to be wrestled with. But we need leaders to work with our leaders in South Fulton to say, hey, I know y'all got your drama with your charter. I get it. But there's something that's coming
Yep.
down the mountain, and one thing that will create some unity is to know where your common enemy is. And when you're
Yep.
so busy infighting and you don't know your common enemy, you're gonna keep destroying one another because a house divided cannot stand. Literally, I was in our Bible study last week. That's another story. But when you know that you have a common enemy, you want to see South Fulton unified on something. Wait till you hear the rest of the stuff going on that's affecting our backyard. And
Oh
you're going
yeah.
to see a South Fulton that's unified and doing something it has not done yet. I said yet because it will happen with the right leadership. So I'm excited to be a part of that team.
Oh, thank you for that, Dr. Howard. I know we got two more questions on tap. Appreciate you touching on data centers. I have a whole bunch of questions about that, and I know there's a couple people on here right now that we've all been discussing the data centers significantly because a lot of people don't even realize that data centers have a shelf life of like 20 years. So all these mega centers that are being built around us now, they're going to be here.
And that footprint is there
The
for the
footprint is
foreseeable
there.
future.
There's
And all the
no,
jobs that were
yep,
promised were about the construction of that data center, not for the ongoing
operation.
maintenance of it and operations of it. It doesn't take very many people to operate a data center. So all
Nope.
the jobs that they're promising you is about construction jobs that are coming and going. These are folks that actually don't live or plan on moving into the area. So we got to have some real conversations, straight up, bold conversations. And we need more leaders that have strong backbones and a soft heart. Unfortunately, we have the other way around. We got people that fold like lawn chairs and they got heart of steel. They act like they don't care. But that's
I like that.
changing. And y'all are all a part of it who are on this Zoom, because I'm sure everybody in here is probably telling their friends, hey, y'all, let's get it. Let's make it happen.
Yep,
So
they
thank you
are.
for bringing that up.
Yes. Helen, you're up. You can unmute yourself. Did we lose Ellen? Okay, well, we'll go back to Ty.
Hi, I appreciate your answer so much. I have another question. I appreciate you bringing up the data centers because that is definitely an impact on our health, and we have so few healthcare resources in this area. One of the things that has been um, going on for quite some time is the lack of us being able to get a certain certificate of need, which would be the foundation for us being able to get a hospital within this 94 square miles of our city. Um, and there's, so many politics involved and all of these things in terms of, compromising and maybe not having a hospital, but allowing our fire department to be able to transport people to hospitals in order to alleviate some of the concern about us being a Black community and the risk of heart disease and stroke and not having enough defibrillators and the short term kind of need for being able to have immediate health care in those types of extreme situations, and we don't have that. So I'm just kind of curious as to, based on your perspective and your agenda, there's just so many health
Yeah.
issues in this area that need to be addressed. And even above that, the number of people who are Black and stricken with dementia and don't have resources, and we really just don't have a lot of dementia and resources
Yep.
here for that population. Like, we've had someone who's running for this particular seat who's been in the office for, I don't know, almost 30 years and has not addressed any of these things, who probably needs them more than us even. Um, I have a mother who has Alzheimer's, and I'm having such a struggle with getting resources and assistance in this area, even with the palliative care that Emory told referred me to. They told me that they don't service my zip code.
So, so
So
Ty,
I
sorry to
just,
interrupt you, Ty. So can you ask the question? What's the main question? I'm sorry.
yes. What is your plan for bringing healthcare resources to this area that are needed based on the age of the population and the demographics that we've not received with other state level representatives?
Yeah. Thank you for being transparent and sharing such a deep personal story, because it's a story that I think we all can resonate with. Uh, Healthcare that can go 100 different directions, and oftentimes the hardest part about healthcare is that it's so broad and it's so vast, and it's so much heavy lifting, and this is how things seem like they don't get done. Let's start with some facts. The facts of the matter is we need healthcare options in South Fulton, period. We know that we would like for it to be a comprehensive hospital, but if everything is suggesting that this is going to be a very, very, very long-term solution for that, then we have to think creatively with our county commissioners and our mayor and city council men and women to make sure that there is a real plan to start taking care of it piece by piece by piece. And I think oftentimes we're looking for the big home run, and if it doesn't happen, we're like, I guess we'll try again, and maybe 5 years we'll get this, and maybe 5 years get that. Sometimes we have to say, you know what? Where can I get a victory? And that victory might be in mental health. That victory might be in maternal health care. Georgia is one of the worst places for a Black woman to have a baby. One of the worst places, not just in the country, but arguably in the world. And when South Fulton is still we're developing like our identity and our thing that is our thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's an example of what we can do, is say, you know what, we're going to make sure that this issue is what we're going to focus on and get a victory. And what happens is when we get that win in one particular area, the momentum starts building. The trust starts building. And now, after a $50 million project that is going well, now we can ask for a $500 million project. And so that is what's going to be necessary. And it also takes good leadership at every level. And I think we see the pieces coming together. They're coming together in real time. And we're not going to let the failures of the past keep us from being hopeful, because it's happening. And so,
Yeah.
Ty, I appreciate that question. And we're going to do that. And we're going to do it together. And it may not be quick, but we will start moving forward and get these victories.
Thank you for that answer, Dr. Howard. So, Dr. Howard, I want to shift a little bit to plans and priorities. Um, Having run for office before and knowing some of the people who actually were elected to office and the struggles that they face, I know there's campaigning, and then there's governing, and
Two
there's
very different
actually
things.
talking about something and actually getting something done.
That's
I'm
right.
sure my state senator, Kemp, or was my state senator. I know they shifted the boundaries so many times, but Senator Camp and also different representatives on the call, Representative Dawson, they would say, when you get there and you actually under the gold dome, it's about relationships and working with people. How do you see yourself being able to foster those relationships and get attached to different bills or get bills passed that will benefit South Fulton and Cobb and your district as a whole? Because it's not just a one-man show; it's a team effort. So how do you see yourself trying to navigate those waters? Because they can be dangerous waters.
Yeah, very much so. Basically going into a room full of sharks and everybody's angling. But what I've learned is that even in a room full of sharks, you can read the room, and some of those sharks are shark-like and they have certain issues that matter to them. And you gotta seek in that common ground. We have to find where the common ground is. There are some folks where we ideologically have very little in common, but they're really big fans of public education. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to work together to try to make sure that this push for public money going to more private school vouchers is that we stop that, or we
Yeah.
keep that from getting worse. That's literally the reason why I got into politics way back in 2016 anyway. So that's one example. The other thing that we have is we have not just state level funds to consider, but there are federal dollars that we could have access to as well. Now, we are blessed to be able to have two Democratic U.S. senators, and when things can get in place and we can talk in a language that people understand, we're not talking about millions of dollars. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. And so that's what we mean. And I think the way to do that is being very clear about what our issues are and
Hmm.
staying laser focused on it. That's why I was bringing up things like Black maternal health care. This is a international problem located right here in Georgia. How
Yep.
can we be the number one place to do business and be one of the worst place to have a baby?
Yeah. That is
That's
a
such a
bad
clear
dichotomy.
message.
Yeah.
And I think we have thousands of messengers that can get that out. And guess what? It may not be because of the current leadership in Georgia cares so much about Black maternal health, but they do care about the reputation of Georgia. And that can be the thing that helps things to move along. And you know what? I don't care who gets the credit. That's another thing I want y'all to know about me. I may push a bill and want a bill to happen, but Republicans do this thing where they'll take some good ideas and they'll slap somebody else's name on it, pass it, and you know what?
Yeah.
Fine. As
Yeah.
long as it gets done.
Yeah. I
That's
know
what
plenty of
matters to me.
representatives. Yeah. Plenty of representatives have told me that in the past privately that they've put stuff forward and Republicans took it because they're the
Yeah,
chairman.
stereogenics is one of those things. My
Yeah.
previous opponent, was driving that and kind of shifted around. But that's okay in the sense of, is it going to move toward helping people?
Yes. I totally agree with that. So we got a question from Jane, but before we go to Jane, I want to just quickly circle back a little bit, Dr. Howard. Um, I think a lot of people have an idea of what a state senator does. But we don't really understand what a state senator does. Can you like just real high level, just touch on three or four things that a state senator would do and how it would
Sure.
impact us in the various cities?
Sure. Think about the folks who go down to that gold dome represent folks all over the state of Georgia. And so you have state representatives that have a smaller footprint. They're a little closer to the community. And then you have state senators that have a larger footprint. And all of them go down to the state capitol. There is a state house, which is almost like we're basically talking about Congress, but not for the
Right.
federal government. We're doing it for Georgia. So you have a state reps that come together, and then you have the state senate. And so both parties, their legal responsibility is to pass a budget. That's the legal responsibility.
Yep.
Everything else is kind of extra based on the needs of the state. And so state lawmakers, which is state senators or state reps, will introduce bills or introduce new laws. We're not responsible for enforcing these laws, but we're responsible for setting the laws, like creating the laws. So that's an easy way to remember it, is that it's the body in Georgia that makes laws, but they don't have to, right? So they go
Yeah.
there. What they have to do is make sure that there is a state budget approved.
Got you. Jane?
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Howard, for joining us tonight. And thank you, Sam. So my question is more to the election integrity and democracy that we are now in. And so, you know, we have since Senate Bill 202. Well, let me just go back. So in 2013, Section 5 was no longer approved, right? Then Senate Bill 202 came about and it spread like wildfire as far as some of the things we can and cannot do when it comes to voting. So, our drop box have been limited, absentee voting has been affected. So, and we have yet to pass a voting rights bill, right? Not a John Lewis, not a Voting Rights Advancement Act. So, what are some of the steps that you would take to address voters' concern about election integrity and strengthen the confidence in our democratic process?
That's a great question, and it's been an issue for quite a while. I think I love the question. I want y'all to kind of get a sense of approach here. I'm a firm believer that trust is like the bedrock of everything that we do in our institutions.
Yes.
And because trust is low, people second guess and question everything. And because we're in the age of the social media, things get amplified. And we have seen true statements kind of get suppressed, and then false statements get legs and run. And so you have people saying, "Oh, I heard you can't do this in Georgia," and actually might be false. But there is a actually true issue that's suppressing the vote in Georgia that's getting no legs. So I think the number one thing that we have to do is develop communication rhythm where folks know this is a trustworthy place to get information. A trustworthy place to get information. Because as soon as what you don't want to do is get out there and start saying, "I can't believe the Republicans are doing da 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 da." And then the Republican friends are looking at you like, there they go again, complaining about stuff that ain't even accurate, because out of the three things that you said, one of them was actually not true. Or it was true for a minute before the bill got changed, and these are games that people play. So I hope that you can appreciate my approach to how I'm answering this question. But it gets so deep and so nuanced that I think that we need credible places. And let's be honest, this is probably risky to say, but we have to talk about it. Some of our most trusted institutions that are supposed to fight for our rights oftentimes are being alarmist and not telling the truth all the way, right? Or not telling the nuance. And so it makes people distrust anything they have to say. These are historical organizations that have been doing the work for a long time, but then they're not sharing the nuance. And they're treating us like we're stupid, like we have to have simple talking points. No, we're sophisticated. We can think. Tell us the truth, even if it is a little bit messy, so that way we know what to push on. So I think establishing a truthful platform for information, and I think that's what we can do working together with different lawmakers, state reps and state senators, so that way we can attack it that way and then go piece by piece by piece, and we can rally the troops and we can make sure that we're down there advocating for what's right. And in this case, specifically voters' rights.
Exactly.
Thank you for that, Dr.
Okay.
Howard.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Jane.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you for that question.
So
It's
we're right at,
We have a question from the chat.
yeah, and I was just gonna let everyone know we're at 7:43. So we
Alright.
got about 16 minutes left.
Oh, Sam, I have breaking news.
What's that, Dr. Howard?
Breaking news.
We could stay a little bit longer.
There's an after party.
Oh, there's the after party.
Yes. And so I think hopefully somebody from my team is on here. If you could put the link that we use for our prayer calls on Sunday nights, can you, it ain't gonna be for prayer call this time. It's just gonna be to kind of like answer any questions that folks just didn't get a chance, right? And if you don't, sometimes people feel nervous about being recorded and knowing that it's gonna live on the internet forever. So we'll have a separate kind of maybe 15, 20 minutes afterwards for folks who felt a little shy about being on the platform. It'll still be a Zoom link. Thank you, Katie. So right after this, I'm going to open up the after party link, and and everybody's invited. All right, everybody's invited to the after party. But this is not going to be recorded. It'll just be us talking. I know that we have a lot of supporters on here, but also I know we have some people who want to see me fail on here, and that's okay. We're just going to talk because the truth is the truth is the truth, and let's talk about it.
Well, good that you brought up Dr. Howard. I think one of the things I wanted to address was people make assumptions about you and any of the candidates out there
Yeah,
if they don't personally know you. Can you speak to the point that you have grown, you have changed? And first of all, I'll be transparent with everyone here. I'm not perfect. I'm a member of Elizabeth Baptist Church. Dr. Craig L. Oliver, Bishop Craig L. Oliver is my spiritual leader. And one of the things that he always say that attracted me to that church and to him as my spiritual leader is that he would say, I'm not perfect.
that's
I
right.
make mistakes. Even I'm a pastor, I'm not perfect.
That's
And
right.
I think that moment of vulnerability really let me see that person's personality. I'm big on personality because policy and other things change, but personality doesn't really change that much.
That's right.
But it does get adjusted. So can you speak to any adjustments that you've made in your life that has guided
Yeah.
you to where you are now from other things you've done in the past?
I'm glad you brought that up. Something I like to be an open book about things. When I run for office, usually if I'm getting close, there are people, folks get nervous. What happens is we tend to see the attack from a 2017 runoff, the state senate. There was an attack on me saying this guy is homophobic, and so my opponent at the time spent vast amount of resources packaging together my Facebook groups from my like online Facebook Bible studies and back and forth discussions about what the Bible teaches on this. And we're
Right.
thinking just non-political, just conversations. Once they packaged that thing up and put it out there and said, oh my gosh, look how terrible this guy is. I'm looking at this kind of packaged thing and I was like, ooh, that just seems, that sounds terrible. That sounds harsh. I wouldn't say it that way.
Right.
Uh, and I hated that situation because there are real people who are in pain. But what
Mhm.
I appreciate through that situation is that it helped me to make sure that I was in a position of listening to folks' lived experiences that are different from mine.
Yeah.
And I think it makes me a better public servant now because I know that I come to the public square saying these are my I hold to a strong sexual ethic. I do my best, a biblical sexual ethic. That's
Hmm.
me. I have a friend, family members, neighbors, patients,
Hmm.
parents, right? They have a different sexual ethic. But guess what? We meet in the public square because we want the best for one another. This is what happens in my dental practice with my two dad families and my two mom families and my pick a this happens with my patients who I do have a handful that are transitioning. Some of them change their mind about transitioning. Guess what? We all come, we give the love, and that's what it's all about. Genuine love. And unfortunately, in politics, anytime we can scare one another, and
Yes.
especially when things get tight and people get nervous and scared, you see attacks. So
Yep.
I'm thankful for the years of genuine conversations with my family members who are LGBTQ. Literally, I don't want to give people's all their personal information. My team members, my patients. There's lawmakers who I've had great conversation with over the years. It's
Yeah.
been wonderful, and now I can approach these situations with a little bit more sensitivity. I can approach the situation saying, hey, let me respect your point of view and then find that common ground. And Sam, to put it in a nutshell, I've learned to be someone who, when it comes to legislating, err on the side of freedom,
Yes.
err on the
Thank you.
side of allowing people to live their lives and thrive,
Yep.
err on
Yep.
the side of that. And so I want that to be crystal clear for anybody watching and anybody who's whispering and all of that. And the reason why we need that is because we, especially on the Democratic side of the aisle, most of the voters in the state of Georgia are Black, church-going Democrats across the state.
Hmm.
But most of the issues and even the elected officials don't feel like we can even talk about it. It's either and it just, we have a disconnect there between where the money is and where the people are. We have to say, hey, under this big tent, let's talk through it where we have some discussions. Let's challenge each other, right? Let's challenge each
Yep.
other, but also let's approach it in with mutual respect and integrity. So thank you for just giving a few minutes for me to just share
No, no
that,
problem at all,
because if
Dr.
it's
Howard.
not this, it's something maybe for somebody else, or about Israel, or just pick a hot topic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It might be about abortion rights. Like pick something that tears people apart, because it's so, for good reason, highly emotional. But we
yeah.
got to be able to go into it and say, hey, can we have a more nuanced conversation on difficult subject matters and move forward together, and not
Appreciate it.
reduce it to a talking point or a bullet point, because we are much more than that. So
Thank
thank
you
you
for
for
that,
that.
Doctor. Oh, anytime, Dr. Howard. Do we have any more questions? I saw some hands up and then it
Yes.
went down. Good
Yeah,
question.
we have a question in the chat. Dr. Howard, how will you support South Fulton and surrounding areas in controlling the advancement of data centers, requiring green initiatives, and ensuring local governments understand the importance of working with county and state to ensure laws are created and adhered to?
Yeah, there's a lot in there. I think I mentioned a lot of this before, is to make sure that there's widespread education about where data centers are going, what they require, some of the impact that is broader than what may be presented, knowing what questions to ask, knowing some strategies that have worked in other states to keep some limitations on our data centers, and also know what's coming when it comes to lawmakers in other states that have already given the green light to data centers to do whatever they want to do, and have the citizens have to pay the cost in their resources, and in their money. So I think that, like, having that nuance and conversation with urgency is going to be critical. But also, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to take some trust. If we're so busy tearing each other apart about whether it's what somebody said or this thing or that thing. And what happens is people love that. They love that division, because then they can just ram through a huge data center that got everything it ever wanted, because somebody was mad about what a Facebook post said 10, 20 years ago. And I'm not minimizing a Facebook post. I'm saying that it
Yes.
distracts us from being able to talk about those issues. We can do both. We can talk about those real on the ground issues, and talk about those human issues between us as people who are very different. Unity is not the same as uniformity. We can be
Oh,
unified with common principles. So I look forward to being a part of that process. And we have the leaders. Like, it's shaping up to be a season of like strong leadership. And I'm eager to work together with South Fulton, with Atlanta, with the state reps and the state senators. I mean, I'm really excited about getting to work.
yeah. And I think we have some really strong state reps and state senators here that I've seen at South Fulton events and out and about in the community. So I don't feel like I've personally met Senator Camp at different events. Like I said, I know Representative Dawson. Representative Sheila Jones. She's everywhere. I think she's an Iron Woman some way, somehow. I have tremendous respect for her. She's always around. So
Yeah,
I feel
amen.
like one of the things I really want to get your feel on, and this is my second to last question, so we can also give other people opportunities to wrap up, is what is your plan for staying engaged with the city of South Fulton, which will make up a large chunk of your district?
Yeah. One big thing, of course, is staying connected with the leadership and doing what I can to encourage and foster unity within the leadership,
Hmm.
collaborating across county lines, city lines, because some of the issues that we're going through in South Fulton are very similar to what I may hear about in the new city of Mableton, right? So just collaborating, like in this, like the power of collaboration is, I mean, the things that we can literally move mountains. It's just going to take that effort and make sure that we don't get distracted, but also make sure that we are being honest about our challenges. But I agree with you. We have incredible leaders who are like been in place, who are coming into place, and the table is getting set for a real golden age for us. We have to make sure we're moving with integrity and moving forward. I mentioned earlier, as part of the solution is creating that platform of trustworthy information.
Yeah.
trustworthy information where you have multiple lawmakers at various levels, maybe present or maybe being part of a joint newsletter. Like imagine
Yeah.
not getting 20 different newsletters from 20 different people, but imagine
One.
getting a newsletter that includes what's happening at the state level, county level, city level, and also here's some tidbits about national things to watch out for because some of these winds will start blowing in our direction.
I think it's
Imagine that, but we can do that together. And as a school board member, I'll give this. People can talk about what they will do all day long, but as a school board member, uh, we were dealing with some issues that were very similar to school board members all around Metro Atlanta with the whole critical race theory and all of that. I'm the type of leader that says, hey, let's organize school board members from all over the state. And that's exactly what we did. And we had a joint letters going to to the governor, to Governor Kemp at the time. And he
Yeah.
had to deal with a letter because he never had to deal with that before, letters of concern about literacy and other things from Cobb County, Fulton County, from Chatham, like literally the whole state of Georgia. And he had to respond. And guess who else had to respond? The news, because the news is not used to that. They're used to talking about who robbed who shot who.
Exactly.
But then when we have a unified front and we are spokespersons and we are bold about it and we have
Yeah.
integrity about it, just imagine that. So
That's a beautiful picture.
I'm excited, which is another why we have to have the after party, because we got to be able to talk about these platforms that we can. A lot of them already exist. We just need to work together collaboratively to make it happen.
All right. And I got one more question, then I'll let Pam, if you can ask a question real quick, because we got like 4 minutes. And
All right,
Dr.
and
Howard,
there's
I'll
a
ask you-
question from the chat too.
And a question from the chat. So let's go really quick. Pam Harvey, Miss Harvey, nice to see you. You can unmute yourself.
Oh, thank you very much. I don't know if Miss Latricia is still here, but I'm curious to know what is your answer to, and her question is, what's your view on HOA reform, SB 106, 107? Thank you very much.
I'm glad you brought that up. I want to be very transparent here. I'm learning just how challenging this HOA situation is. We have a little bit of this going on in Cobb as well, and I know that what I'm understanding is that the HOAs just don't have accountability right now. There, and it's going to take some state help to be more clear to make sure that there's accountability for our HOAs. So when it comes to broad strokes, I'm all about accountability and transparency. That's another one. Transparency. So when I enter these conversations, I'm going to be someone that errs on the side of, let's make sure we err on the side of transparency, accountability. So just that's how I approach it. But I've learned enough to know that there's a whole lot in there. And I don't want to give too much of a surface answer, but just know that those are some themes. And when it comes to providing solutions, that's what I want to focus on.
Thank you for that,
All
Dr.
right.
Howard.
Thank
And the
you.
question in the chat real quick. Thank you, Ms.
That
Harvey.
was the question in the chat.
That was the question. Okay, great. So I'm going to ask you a quick question, Dr. Howard, and then I want to give you 2 minutes to wrap up and get to the after party. So I'm a huge Stephen Colbert fan, and one of the things I like about Stephen Colbert, unfortunately, he's paying the price for speaking the truth to power. Is a Stephen Colbert questionnaire. So this one should be relatively straightforward. How would you describe your goal for the rest of your life in 5 words?
The goal for the rest of my life.
In 5
Love
words.
God, love people.
So that's 4. That's
Hold
good.
on. Period.
That's 5. I love it.
Love
Thank you,
God,
Dr. Howard.
love people. Period.
And I believe that's also a part of your campaign mission
That's
and your
literally
personal
my
mission.
approach. So that's exactly how I try to approach every situation, because y'all know how when it comes to integrity, there's a lot of things that are done behind the scenes and behind closed doors. Y'all, don't just, that whole thing of a tree by its fruit, that is real,
Yes.
because you don't really know people until you see the fruit. And so I can tell you, but I can show you better. I can tell you, and then we've been showing it. And I just really do appreciate y'all considering me to be your next senator. And if you know that you want to support our campaign, we'll make sure we put the jahahoward.com in the chat.
Yes.
If you are somebody that I know you're frustrated about what's with the prices of groceries at Publix, just like I am, but if you do have a few extra dollars, it'll help us to match a lot of this PAC money that does not want to see somebody like me, uh, somebody like me in the state legislature. There's some forces at work that just do not appreciate talking candidly about issues. They want
Oh,
to
that's
keep things the way that they are. So if you know that this is the brand of leadership that you're looking for, I ask for your support. Tell friends, tell everybody, and also support financially if you can.
so, Dr. Howard, you kind of led right into what I was going to ask you to do next. There are 6 people or more in this race. I want you to say in a sentence or two something that will help everyone on this call, or even who's watching this recording, remember who you are and why when they go in that booth and everyone should go vote, push that button for your name.
We are moving into a special time in our lives, and we're going to do it together with the right leadership, the right momentum. And it's going to be something that our kids and our grandkids will be proud of. Let's do it today. Early voting has already started. Remember Jaha like aha, Howard like the greatest university in the world. Jaha Howard State Senate.
Appreciate you, Dr. Howard. Thank you for your time. Thank all the residents for joining us. I appreciate your candidness and open and transparency. I look forward to talking to you again. I'm sure I'll see you in the community.
Very much so. This won't be the last. So I will see everybody at the after party. We'll put the link in one more time in the chat, and then we can have a another frank conversation just for a few more minutes for folks who did not feel comfortable saying anything while recorded. But we would love for you to make sure you ask any questions and how you can help. All right.
Thank you.
Hey, thank y'all. That was Sam. You did. I appreciate just sitting here virtually with you. Rashard, thank you so much. Ron, taking care of stuff behind the scenes. Thank you so much. And all the state. Let's see, Senator Kemp, and I think I saw. Yep, Representative Jones. Yep. So and I think I saw Representative Dawson on here.
Yep.
I just really appreciate y'all, but also for the everyday people who are you just care about your community. Thank you, because I'm sure you're thinking about a million other things you could be doing instead of being on another Zoom. So thank y'all. All right. I'll see y'all over on the not the other side of life, but the other side of the Zoom. Y'all take care, all right?
All right.
And for the rest of the audience, we actually will be back on Wednesday. We have a very special presentation to do with the candidates running for the Public Service Commission. They are the ones in charge of setting your rates with Georgia Power and the gas companies and things of that nature. And they have other things that they do as well. So they will be here Wednesday at 7 p.m. and we will be sending out a new link for that. And everybody feel free to join Dr. Howard's other call. And everyone have a good night. And thank you, Sam, for moderating this event at the last minute.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate it. This was fun.
Yeah,
Anytime.
thank you so much.
Thank you all.
All right,
Good seeing
bye.
everyone.